Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I will be giving you my honest opinion about today's UPSC Prelims paper, and I will also give you my cutoff predictions. Before we start, a big congratulations to each and every aspirant who showed up today and gave their best, because in this journey, showing up and trying to give your best is what matters, and that deserves a recognition. So let us start with our analysis. The first and foremost observation that I have about today's paper is that today's paper was much more balanced paper. That is, if you look at the distribution of each and every subject, you will see more or less every subject got its due weightage, as well as there was no one subject which had more weightage or any one subject which was ignored totally. For example, history had around 16 questions, geography had 12 questions, economy, like every year, contributed to the highest number of questions of around 19 questions. I could see a rise in number of science and tech questions, and the type of questions in science and tech also changed a bit, that we will discuss as we go ahead in today's video. So all in all, today's paper was much more balanced paper, and this is a good thing about this year's paper, because if any one subject is given undue weightage, automatically people with that background or who have strength in that subject have an undue advantage in the paper. But today's paper was a very well balanced paper, so this is a good thing about today's paper. But apart from this, there are a few other things that I believe will definitely bring the cutoff down. The first and foremost thing is today's paper was very much lengthy. If you look at the types of questions, there were a lot of three statement based questions. Apart from three statement based questions, there were a lot of questions which did not just have three statements but also asked you to apply your knowledge and recognize which of the statements explained the first statement. So such applied questions, such lengthy questions do take a lot of time, and after speaking to a lot of my friends and fellow aspirants, I could realize one thing, that everybody struggled to manage time in today's paper. So do not worry about it. The paper was lengthy for each and everyone, and what happens is we tend to judge our performance based on the feeling we get in the paper in the last 15-20 minutes. So everybody did hurry in the last 15-20 minutes, and that is the reason everybody is feeling that today's paper was much more difficult. Okay, so I do admit that today's paper was lengthy. Also, today's paper was more applied. For example, in economics, you have had a lot of applied questions. Also, you needed second degree of thinking while solving the questions, even in geography and polity. So it was applied question. Again, applied paper will definitely need more time to solve. So again, these are two factors that will bring the cutoff down. So all in all, my observation is that it was a bit difficult paper than previous years. And in my journey of UPSC, in the prelims papers that I gave from 2019 till 2024, I believe the prelims of 2025 is the most lengthiest paper in UPSC's history. So keep this in mind. This will be a major factor for deciding the cutoff. So nextly, we will look at a few subject-wise observations. The first and foremost observation for polity that I have is polity this year was applied. That is, you needed to have not just good factual hold over Lakshmikant, but also good conceptual hold over the ideas given in Lakshmikant. For example, the question on constitutional amendment where state 50% of states recognition is needed. Now, the options given there are not directly mentioned in Lakshmikant or any other reference for that matter. You need to think based on your understanding of the underlying philosophy in constitution. So polity was definitely applied, and you needed understanding beyond Lakshmikant, and just factual hold over Lakshmikant did not suffice this year. Secondly, when it comes to economics, I believe economics static questions were easy. To be very honest, static questions were easy, but there were a lot of applied questions which took a lot of time and needed a lot of on the spot thinking, and that made economics a bit difficult. So all in all, economics, I believe, lies somewhere between easy to moderate, because the static and conceptual questions were easy and the themes were much more repeated again. For example, the question on alternate investment funds, or the favorite topics of UPSC like capital expenditure, budget related terms, or money market related terms, they were repeated this year also. So all in all, the core focus in economy, the micro topics on which UPSC has focused, remained the same, but UPSC has brought in applied questions this year. So economy for me was easy to moderate. The next subject, that is geography. Now geography, I believe, again UPSC focused on its favorite topics like climatology, oceanography, and the questions, a lot of questions from geography were copy paste from NCERT. ठीक है. So for example, the question on dust particles, the question on January isotherm, which was repeated from last year, so your NCERT would have sufficed you, but there were a few applied questions as well here. For example, the question on international date line and whether you will lose a day or gain a day, that was applied questions. Or the time zone wala question, these are a few questions that you do not prepare as such, but UPSC asked it this time. Secondly, UPSC again focused on few of its favorite topics like lakes. Every year it used to focus on topics on the lakes that were affected due to climate change or were drying out, but this year it asked a static question on lakes, the famous lakes, and from which lake does equator pass, which I believe was a decent question. But only thing was ki the two lakes given are very minor lakes which a lot of people do not read, but even if from name you are able to deduce which country does it belong to, automatically you can reach to the answer. Next subject is history. Now there was a reversal in trend in history, that is modern history. The number of questions increased. For the last couple of years the questions had reduced to 3 and 4 questions. Like last year in 2024 UPSC asked just 2 or 3 questions from modern history, but this year modern history has got its due weightage, and the questions of modern history were doable. I would say the history questions were doable, and UPSC again focused more on ancient history and less on medieval history. Medieval history, I believe there was not even a single question apart from the Narasimhavarman case, the Vichitra Chitta question, that we can consider it in early medieval. So again, history was doable. Next subject is environment. In environment, there were a lot of applied questions, and second thing that I observed in environment was questions that were three statement based came more in environment, which made it bit more difficult and applied. So environment, I would believe it was moderate to difficult. Again, the favorite themes of UPSC like COP or Paris Agreement, climate change conventions were repeated, and organization based questions did come, but because they were asked in the form of three statement, these questions became difficult to solve, and that's why I would consider environment to be lying in the range of moderate to difficult. And lastly is science and technology. In science and technology, I saw massive increase in number of questions, especially in technology part. The thing that I have been repeating in all my videos is that UPSC majorly focuses on technology more and less on science, and that is why you should be aware about technologies that are in use, and UPSC has proven it this year also. All out of the 16 odd questions that came from science and technology, majority of the questions are from technology. I did not find any question from basic science, cell related questions, or other basic science topics. More focus was on technology, and I could recognize a new trend in this year's paper, that is environment technology and defense technology are becoming new favorite topics of UPSC. So keep this in mind. Now onwards, environmental related technology things and defense technology are becoming favorite topics of UPSC, so you will have to focus on them. And lastly, for current affairs, I believe current affairs questions came from basic sources. Majority of the questions could have been solved if you had gone through PT 365. I also saw that the compilation prepared by Mudit Jain sir got around 35 questions from current affairs, like current affairs as well as static came from his compilation. So majorly the current affairs based questions have been covered by all the famous coachings. So current affairs was doable, and multiple revisions could have helped you there. So all in all, I would say on the topic or themes, the paper was easy to moderate, but the framing of those questions was such that the paper ultimately is moderate to difficult. And because of all these factors, firstly is the lengthy nature of paper, then the applied nature of paper, and the factors that CSAT was also difficult for a lot of people. CSAT, there were a lot of assumption based questions in reading comprehension of CSAT. Quant was also tricky for a few people. I believe CSAT was difficult than last year, and that's why cutoff will come down. So my cutoff prediction for this year is that for GS, the cutoff for general category will lie somewhere in this range, that is 85 plus minus 2. So the cutoff prediction by me is 83 to 87 for general category. For ABC, OBC, it would be between 82 to 86, and subsequently for SC ST, it would go down from 85 to around 7 to 8 marks. So these are the things, these are my major cutoff predictions for this year's paper. So what should be your approach now, what to do next? So first and foremost thing is take break for a few days. A lot of you have been preparing relentlessly for last 6 months, so you guys deserve a break. Take a break for a few days, take some fresh air, calculate your scores, and then decide your next path. People who are able to score above 75 80, if you are able to score more than 75 80, I would suggest you to start with your mains preparation right away, because this year the timing between prelims and mains has been reduced, and it will be a very uphill task to cover each and everything from main syllabus within the 3 months. So keep this in mind. You guys need to start preparing your mains as soon as possible. If your score is above 75, above 75 it is a safe score, because I believe this year also there will be a few questions which will be disputed amongst different coachings, and UPSC will come out with a different answer altogether. For example, a question that I found which can be a issue is the time zone wala question. How many countries have more than 4 time zone now? A few references are saying ki UK, when you consider all the different, like its dependencies as well as overseas territories, it has 9 time zones. But if you consider UK as just the country, the island, it has only 1 time zone. So it depends on what UPSC interprets. So there will be scope for difference between UPSC answer key and classes ka answer key. So if you are able to score more than 75 or 80, you should start your mains preparation right away. So all in all, this is my cutoff prediction for this year's prelims. You guys have done your best, you guys have given your best, so you guys deserve some rest. Take a break for a couple of days, calculate your scores, and then decide your future action based on it. But people who are able to score more than 75, it is my honest advice, you should start preparing for mains right away.